Hello, welcome to Let's Talk NBA with Rick and Jack. NBA, wow, what a mess, huh?
It is a mess, but it's coming down to the wire. And right now, I'm very excited because that bottom four of teams, they're all fighting to get out of the bottom four. Or you have teams that are saying, you know what, I'm in the 11th and 12th position. You know, if I go on a 7, 8, maybe 9-game winning streak like the Knicks did, I can bump up right up there. Like right, one of the teams that just came in there is, you know, we have the Washington just came in.
The Wizards are in 10, right?
Yeah, they came in the 10th position.
I would love to see them make it because, you know, I believe Beal and Westbrook deserve a chance. They've played so hard this year, and you know, I just would love to see those guys get a shot. They're a couple of good ball players. I like to watch Washington, and they don't have much besides those two guys.
Besides those two guys, but guess what? Every night Beal keeps on showing up, and Beal,
he shows up.
He does, but he does because he puts Beal in a position where Beal gets open and Beal makes shots, and Beal's averaging over 31 points a game right now. You know, leading the NBA with shooters. So guess what? Why is he in the MVP talks right now? Is it because it's Washington and, you know, basically everybody put him to, hey, see you guys next year? But guess what, man? They're fighting right now, and
there's a lot of teams fighting for spots, and that's what's been impressive in the NBA is teams like, you know, Memphis. What did they win 8 in a row before they lost last night? The Knicks have really come around. Ever since I said the Knicks were about to fall apart, what's happened?
They went on a 9-game winning streak. Right now, they're 9-1 in the last 10 games. Yeah. So guess what? They're doing their thing. One of my teams that I put on a pedestal that's not doing so well right now, it's Portland. I was talking about how deep they are. And all of a sudden, like in the last 10 games, they're 2-8. Like, come on, Portland. You're making me look bad right here. Come on.
I watched them in a 3-game span in that 6-game losing streak. I watched them lose a game by 2 points, and 1 point. They lost 3 games by a total of 5 points. They just haven't seemed to be able to get over the top. And ever since Nurkic came back, actually, they haven't been playing that well. They were doing better when Cantor was in the middle and he was a starter. I don't understand what's wrong with Portland. They may be tired. But they are not going to be a contender. Portland will not be a contender.
It's not that they're tired. What it is during their stretch where they were actually playing okay, or at times shows sparks. McCollum was still injured and Dirk was still out. But now that those guys are back, guys that used to have to show up and do extra don't have to do those things anymore because now they're expecting those guys to come in and do their thing, but those guys need time to come in and do their thing.
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting. To me, it was a strange trade. They got rid of Gary Trent Jr., sent him to Toronto, who I felt was a real spark for that team. I like that kid a lot. And they brought in Norman Powell, who's had some big scoring nights, but I believe he's taken scoring away from Dame and McCollum. And Portland is, first of all, I don't think Damian Lillard's healthy. He missed several games. He's back again now. But part of that losing streak, he was out 3 of those games, maybe 4 of them. But Portland, to me, you know, you talk about NBA, we talk about NBA. I know you all love NBA and watch it. And thanks for watching the show, by the way. This is fun. With 10, 12 games left, it's a lot of jockeying for position. But, you know, teams like them are not going to be there. As hard as Dallas is playing in Memphis, and the Knicks and Memphis, in the end, they're not going to be there. Well, they're not going to make it to the semifinals. Maybe Phoenix. You've been a Phoenix fan. I'm still not sold on Phoenix, even though they had a big win last night.
Well, they had a big win.
Denver's another one. They're not going to get there. But they're not going to get there.
It's the difference between right now what they're doing is they're putting themselves in position to be in a good seat, to be in a good seated position. Guess what? You play against a Utah that Mitchell is still out, and Mr. Gobert is not playing well, guess what? Denver can steal that series. You know,
There's no doubt.
same thing with Brooklyn. You know, all three of their stars have been out all year long, whether or not it's personal or injury. Guess what? Playoffs, they can have 2 injuries. And guess you can have a team like New York will actually show up and beat Brooklyn because of their seeded position and just a time. I saw somewhere where it says it's not the team that you play, it's when you play them.
Well,
So when you play, sometimes the opportunity to play that team is ripe, sometimes it's not. Like a Golden State, all year long you probably beat up on them, but to win that one game to get into the playoffs, Curry goes hot. That's not when you want to play them, and you play them when they were hot.
Yeah.
So it's not. It's generally when you play a team.
Yeah, the thing I find, and again, watching a lot of NBA, the thing about Brooklyn, and I've been watching them closely because they've been just such an interesting mix of what's happened, guys in and out of the lineup all year. But what I find about Brooklyn is if 2 of those stars are playing, 2 of the 3 are playing now, Harden's been out, and Durant is back, and Kyrie Irving has been playing. If those 2 guys play, or 2 of the combination of the 3 play with that group that they're with, they're very tough. I don't think they're beatable. When 2 of them are playing, they don't lose. And Blake Griffin is playing very well. Jeff Green is playing. I have never seen Jeff Green play this good. Jeff Green is playing great. The kid Harris, Joe Harris, I love him. Great 3-point shooter. Shamat, the kid that used to be at the Clippers, is playing great. The kid Brown. So they're getting a lot of experience. But if 2 of the 3 stars make it, those are the ones that play in the playoffs, and one of them doesn't play, Brooklyn still is not beatable. This is the conclusion I've come to, because I've seen Milwaukee play well, I've seen Philly play well, but day in and day out, the most talented team in the NBA, in my opinion, even without one of the stars not playing, is Brooklyn. That's the assessment I've made over the last couple of weeks. And watching Brooklyn, they got a good cast of characters, man. They got a really good cast of characters. Those guys are not bums. Blake Griffin is legit.
He is. It just took him because obviously they were waiting to trade him, so he wasn't necessarily playing. So when he came back, he came back very rusty, and now he's getting playing time. And
he looks good.
He looks good. Are you concerned that the top 3 teams in the East are basically right at 500 in the last 10 games? Is there a problem in the East with the top teams?
I think the winner this year is going to come out of the East. I think the 3 top teams in the East are very good ball clubs. Philadelphia, it just appears to me that they just don't have enough. They depend too much on Embiid, and Ben Simmons is up and down. And again, the difference in that team is Tobias Harris.
That team goes for Tobias.
If Tobias is playing well and he's in the lineup, which he hasn't been, they're in good shape. But there's something about that team, the chemistry, Doc Rivers, I don't know what it is. I watch Philadelphia and I keep wanting to put them on the pedestal at the top of the East, and I can't. Same thing with Milwaukee. I look at Milwaukee, they've made these changes. They brought in PJ Tucker, they brought in Jeff Teague. They signed Holiday to a big contract. I still don't see their role players as great players like in Brooklyn. I just don't see it. I don't see the guys that come off the bench as consistent enough. I really don't. I see what comes off of the bench in Brooklyn, and man, it's sharp. It's
so
good.
Then what's their excuse for the last 10 games to be only going 6-4?
Well,
that's almost 500.
You got to understand, Kevin Durant didn't play 3 of those games.
Okay,
he's been out with a bruised thigh. It's very hard for the 1-star Irving to run that team, particularly when he's not a big rebounder or you can't post up. He's a shooter, and a lot of times when you only have a shooter in there with a bunch of other shooters, it's tough. And like you say, Blake's just getting in shape. I think Brooklyn is going to end very strong, and they're going to be number 1 in the division. Brooklyn will win the East.
They are winning the division right now.
Yeah, they are, and they're putting themselves in the position to do that. And I'm telling you, if they can keep 2 out of the 3 stars healthy, they're not beatable, in my opinion. They have a great bench. And DeAndre Jordan, people don't give him enough credit. He's on the boards. He's playing defense. He clogs up that middle. And they wanted to sit him on the bench when Aldridge came. Aldridge was nothing. And, the heart thing and all that, God bless. I'm sure nobody was putting him in a position to have a heart attack, and they knew what his situation was, but he didn't play. His heart was not in the game, and that was a span of games where it was odd because he was not capable of being a great player anymore. DeAndre Jordan works his butt off, and so do all those guys on that team. People look at a guy who's Shamat. Who's this Shamat guy you're talking about? Well, if you watch NBA, you know he's a great shooter. You know Joe Harris is a great shooter. You know Jeff Green is playing incredible. That's a good core. This last week I came to the realization, we're always mixing what's happening week to week. It changes. And we talk a lot of West, but I'm glad we're talking some East. I believe Brooklyn by far is the best team in the East. At this point, yes, even without James Harden, Brooklyn is the best team in the East. And they will win that, division.
Brooklyn is, I would actually say, is probably the best team in the NBA as far as on paper.
Right now, I would agree with you. The Lakers aren't. The Clippers.
And how they're playing.
The Clippers won, what did they win? 10 out of 11, 10 out of 12 last night. They step up and,
in the last 10 games, the Clippers are 8-2. Yeah. They're not doing so shabby. Phoenix, 7-3. You have Utah. I think they're going to get eclipsed by Phoenix, and Phoenix going to take over that number one spot. But the way Brooklyn's playing, the way Brooklyn's set up as far as how deep they are, I think they're the best in the NBA.
At this point in time, I agree with you.
They remind me of the typical LeBron team where the regular season doesn't necessarily matter. What matters to them is that playoff. So they just play enough to make sure that they make it to playoffs and in a good position. And when come playoffs, they'll show you who they really are. I still can't get on the bandwagon, but I have to. You still have to speak the truth. But based on what I've seen and how they're playing, they'll dominate the East unless you can have a Milwaukee. Milwaukee is a little shaky for me. I see they're deep themselves, but it's hard for me to see a team with one star win. Yeah. And Giannis needs a second star in that city, no matter how good he is. But that's about it. Philly goes as far as Embiid goes, and if the Embiid is not going, if it's not playing with his bad back, guess what? They're not going to go far.
Yeah, but again, your point is good that all is well taken. That all three teams are good. They're three good teams, but in the end, I mean, if Kevin Durant's playing, you're in trouble. With that cast that he has, that group of players, and Irving being as good as he is, if they really don't need Harden to win it, and I'll be the first one to tell you, if Harden doesn't come back, they're still going to win. And that may be bold, but I'll tell you what, that's where I believe it. I put money on it. That at this point in the season, if James Harden doesn't come back, Brooklyn still wins it. I believe if he comes back, they got too many players, and roles are going to change, and the continuity is going to get messed up. They have a very good continuity when Durant plays and Irving plays right now.
Because
very good continuity.
Because you have Durant, a shot, he can create his own shot. Irving can create his own shot. But also, what's good about Irving distributes the ball too. And that's what's good about him. He's a good facilitator, just as good as a facilitator as he is at creating his own shot. So
he's a great player.
He'll make the guys around him better too.
I enjoy watching him play. I enjoy watching Brooklyn right now. It's one of my favorite teams. So, we're pretty much on the same page as what we think is going to happen in the East. There's a lot of activity in the West. We don't know where the Lakers are going to be. How bad is Donovan Mitchell's ankle? Phoenix continues to stay healthy and win. We know Dallas isn't going to be there. How about Denver? Well, what do you think? Michael Porter Jr. has really grown up all of a sudden. He was just all over the place kid. All of a sudden, he's playing fantastic basketball. What do you think about Denver's chances?
I think Denver has a solid chance, and they're actually they surprised me when that kid injured himself last week.
Murray.
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago.
I thought they were going to be.
I said they were done.
I thought so too, and then you know what? They continue to win, and I'm impressed. Like I said, if they're positioning themselves where, if Mitchell's out for any period of time, if they're in a series with them, and Mitchell's not playing well, Denver can really take that from them.
Yeah, Utah's not the same team without him. I mean, I thought Murray was not with Murray out at Denver. They weren't going to be the same team, but they're playing very good basketball. And this year's MVP, Jokic, is the Joker's playing fantastic and great leader, great passer. I've never seen a center that passes as good as he does. He is a great passer. He is a good ball player. Porter has really, really stepped up, man. And he's actually the number 2 guy there, man. And it's they play good defense. They got Mike Malone's a great coach. Again, Denver could contend. I just continue to think that something tells me in the end, in the Western Conference Championship, it's going to be the Lakers and Clippers.
And that's all depends on seed right now, because they cannot.
The Clippers may get number 1.
No, I don't think so. I think.
What are they? 2 games out of the number 1 spot? Yeah. They're not far.
But I don't think so.
You realize Leonard hasn't played in 2 weeks.
And when he comes back, he's gonna come back rusty. And I'm not surprised he's not playing the last 2 weeks. Remember?
Well, he's got a bad foot, and they're concerned about it because they keep giving him rest and X-raying it, and it's not getting better. So, there's a legitimate problem there. I just think he will get healthy. And again, I think the Clippers are going to represent the West versus Brooklyn in the championship, and Brooklyn's going to win it. My story. At this point, with 4 weeks to play, 10, 12 games, are the Lakers, are they going to is LeBron going to play before the playoffs? I mean, you just can't come. If anybody could do it, it's LeBron. But you saw it with Anthony Davis. He's finally coming into shape. What is he, 4 or 5 games in? Anthony Davis finally had a good game the other night. But again, people get excited. Oh, the Lakers, they won. They beat Orlando. Who did they beat last night? Nobody. But Dallas beat them 2 nights in a row. Dallas is not that good of a team. One of the nights they didn't even have Porzingis. They beat the Lakers, and Porzingis didn't play. The Lakers.
But I think
they're not that good of a team. I'm telling you.
I think LeBron is a different person when it comes to.
He makes the difference on any team.
Yeah, but I think as far as how you some players need time to I guess get their shot. Do you think LeBron James is still not practicing and doing?
Of course he's practicing. You don't need to have a perfect ankle to be shooting the ball. You can stand out there and shoot the ball all day. It's not like his shoulder or his wrist or his forearm is broken. Sure, he's practicing.
Yeah,
but he's not getting up and down the floor like he should be and getting those wind sprints in and getting in shape. The ankle, it's just like I watched Davis come back. He looked like he was in a different world. He didn't know what game he was playing. He played good last night, but again, who did you beat? You had 18 points, 12 rebounds.
Who did you beat?
You beat Orlando last night.
They beat the team that they were supposed to beat. Because we'd be having a different conversation if they didn't beat Orlando. Oh my God, they didn't beat Orlando? No, they beat Orlando.
But I tell you what, it wouldn't have surprised me if they lost. It would not have surprised me.
Well, they beat who they were supposed to beat.
Yeah, well, they beat who they're supposed to be there. Exactly. They needed to win really bad. They're in the 5th spot. What happens if they're going to play the number 4? Who's in the 4th spot?
Denver right now.
Okay, so the Lakers may have to play Denver right off the bat. 4 plays 5, right? Yeah. They may lose to Denver right off the bat. Who knows? Denver's playing good ball. They again, there's a team that's got some good role players on it, and they're very well coached. You saw it that they, made it as far as they did last year. Mike Malone is a terrific coach, and his players love him. That's a good guy there. And Denver may be scary. I don't know. Playoffs are tough. You got to play every other night in tough games. As you know, we play defense in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And how is that going to affect, everybody when we all decide to play defense? Well, the teams that have been playing defense are going to play like a Boston. Boston plays good defense. Offensively, they're all over the place. Boston goes as Kemba Walker goes. I mean, if Jaylen Brown is having a big game and Tatum is having a big game, and you got Kemba Walker playing well, watch out. But I mean, really, what do they have beyond that than those 3 guys? I mean, who are you going to say? Pritchard, a rookie? Who are you going to say after those 3 guys in Boston? Who are the players? Are there any good? Is it Tristan Thompson?
Tristan's actually playing
playing better, but he's not enough to win a championship.
No, he's not.
Boston doesn't have enough freaking rifles to win. They don't have enough guns. But their arsenal's short.
But when it comes to playoff basketball, they play smart basketball, and you need
They're well coached.
You need smart basketball to win. And guess what? If right now, if the playoffs ended today, they'd be playing Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's a tough win.
Yeah, Milwaukee. That's a round that, hey, guess what? If Milwaukee's not on all cylinders, they can lose to Boston.
Oh, anybody can lose to Boston. Hey, listen, every team wishes they had 3 stars like that. I mean, Kemba Walker, when he's playing, is a big difference maker. That guy can play basketball. He's just injured a lot, and he doesn't show up every night. Tatum doesn't show up every night. The only one that really shows up when he's playing every night is Brown. Brown is a hard-working dude from Cal. He played at Cal, and he's a hard-working.
And as long as Smart is on the court,
well, of course, Smart's. It's important. Smart is the leader, but is Smart going to win the game for you when it counts? You know, and I can't throw him in there when I say the big 3. Smart's all over the place. He has as many turnovers as he has baskets. Don't get me wrong. He's the leader of that team. He is really the face of the team. But Smart is not the guy that's going to win the game for you. He's a hardworking dude who's not that great. Your big 3 you're gonna win or lose with that. And again, it comes down to, I've watched them. If Kemba Walker isn't playing well, they do not win.
And I just wish he would actually play better, because I know what he can do and what he's done. At times I see him play and I'm like, that's not the Kemba that I know.
Well, he's been hurt a lot. He's had a bad knee, and they can't play back-to-backs. Nobody plays back-to-backs anymore. It's so frustrating watching the NBA. A guy has a great game on a Wednesday night, and then
you're expecting a follow-up.
Yeah, you're watching him Thursday night. I'm like, well, where is he? And then they take 2 guys out, and I'm like, this last week watching NBA for the first time this year, I was a little bit down on it, because I was like, where are these guys? They played great last night, and they didn't play tonight. I'm like, Paul George, like we said last week, he had a great game, and then he sat the next game. I'm like, well, come on, man. They didn't used to do that. They pay you to play, not to load manage. And guess what? You can load manage all you want. Certain teams are not going to win. They're not going to make it to the semifinals or the finals of either division. Well, how about Miami? What's up with them this year? They're up, they're down, they're all over. Jimmy Butler's had a decent year, but they're
5-5 in the last 10 games.
Yeah, which is not that good for a team that needs to win.
But they're in the 7th spot. Do you think Washington wants to go up or wants to play them, to play in? No, you don't think Jimmy Butler is going to put everything in there?
We saw his capable.
Yeah. So guess what? I think they'll be fine. And they might give Philly a run for their money come playoffs if Embiid is not doing his thing, because guess what? Ben Simmons,
Ben
is not
Simmons is up and down.
He's too inconsistent. So
Harris is up and down. That's a problem with that team. They're frustrated. They'll play one night and look so good, and the next 2 nights they'll look horrible. And again, the most consistent team, really, which has been, they've been bouncing in and out of the lineup. It really, really is Brooklyn. They're the most consistent team over in that division. And again, it's Harden coming back. They said indefinite. I don't know what's wrong with Harden. Is that a badly torn hamstring? They don't tell you anything. A badly torn hamstring, you're not going to be playing for a long time, several months. A strain you can get okay, but a bad hamstring, you're not playing for a while. So I'm not sure that he's coming back. And guess what? I'll repeat what I said, and I hope you all heard it. Brooklyn is going to win it if they have 2 of the stars. If it's only Kyrie and KD, they're going to win it. They got a great cast. They got a great cast, man. And that cast is very important, as you've seen, for teams that win it. You've got to have that really good 5th, 6th, 7th player to be successful. You really do.
So let's talk about MVP. Who are your MVP candidates right now?
There's only 2. Jokic, Steph Curry. Steph Curry there's nobody even close. Steph has put him, and I said this last week, Steph has put himself firmly in the MVP race. And if he continues to have the games like he has, and leading that very average ball club to victories, that they've been working hard, they're trying to get that number 10 spot to 9 or 10. They go back and forth, they lose, they win. They're right there, 9 and 10. I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs.
Well, they're 7-3 in the last 10 games,
but
so
Steph,
they're in the up.
They want to be there.
They're doing what they're supposed to do to continue.
They're not going to get higher than the play-in game, though. They're not going to get past 7s, and that's tough. But who's better than Steph Curry right now? Night after night in the 30s, a 53-point game, leading that team, shooting shots half court. Steph is the man. I just in the last couple of weeks I've watched and said, nobody's better than that guy. You're talking about MVP and all this. It depends on how you're rating him. MVP of his team or MVP just the best player in the NBA. He's MVP of his team, but they don't have a lot of wins. So is it more right to give it to somebody like Paul George? And Paul George has played fantastic. Chris Paul, leader, man, leader. Embiid, leader. When he's healthy.
That's been the debate for me for years, as far as when it comes to what is MVP? What does MVP mean to any sport? Were they the most valuable player on that team? Where if they're not on that team, it would be such a big difference, or a guy that's padded with his stats.
Yeah. Well, and that's a great question. But look at this. How important is MVP really? Giannis has won it the last 2 years, but they were failures in the playoffs. How many MVPs did Kobe Bryant win?
Not enough.
One.
The same thing with LeBron.
LeBron didn't win. Come on. Kobe Bryant was the most valuable player in the NBA for a long time. But there were people that didn't like him. They thought he was arrogant. They weren't betting on for him. They were giving it to somebody else. I mean, the year when who was it that beat out Michael Jordan for MVP, and what a joke! It's like, come on, man. I don't think. And that's the thing. To me, it's unimportant in the NBA. The right MVP never wins it.
Exactly, and they should change the definition of it. It's basically the biggest difference maker on a team. If you can plug any other star in that lineup, and you'll have the same results, then that's not your MVP. Now, if no one else can do that, then guess what? Like, the only other person I could see that'll pull Golden State's like that, maybe a Durant or maybe a LeBron.
Yeah, right.
Who would still be in there. Otherwise,
absolutely.
No one else. So I agree with that.
I think Steph is he's heads and tails right now above everybody, and it's been a funny year because if LeBron stayed healthy, he would have won. LeBron's been just a great leader. He's playing every night, playing so well. LeBron was really having a great year. It was too bad he got hurt, really. But he would have been. At a point, Embiid was the guy. Giannis has been the guy. Giannis been consistent. It's been all over. Steph, Jokic has played all year, just a hardworking guy. I believe he's going to win it.
As he should. He's another guy that I think, guess what? He's doing this thing. But is he popular enough to win that MVP?
That's the whole thing. I mean, you look at Damian Lillard. He was at a point there in the season. He was playing better than everybody. Then he got tired and he got hurt. He's not in the race anymore. It's How about Devin Booker? Fine player, not ready to go to that level though.
Even the kid in Washington with Beal,
Bradley Beal,
leading the NBA in scoring.
Another one, yeah. Every night.
In a sense, we would consider like a team that we wrote off
every night.
We wrote off for the rest of the season, and then guess what? He's still playing hard. He's still
hard every night.
Between him and Westbrook feeding each other. Why is that guy's name never in the MVP talk? I think he's right up there, just as much as Joker is. So
yeah, and again, do you watch John Morant play?
Yes.
The guy's an unbelievable player.
Yeah, but he's
had some big games, but
he doesn't score enough.
He's a top 10 player in the NBA.
He is, but he doesn't score enough.
Well,
for me to put him in there. Whereas you have a Curry that basically puts the team on his shoulder.
How about Randall? Julius Randall. What he done wrong this year? He's led a team. And he's got really one other player there, RJ Barrett, who's really fantastic.
To me, the problem is I feel like there were times during the game that Randall disappears, and that's not necessarily
He's
how
a fine player.
MVP. Yes, he's done incredible for the Knicks this year, and as a fan, I am very happy, especially on the 9-game winning streak. But there are a lot of times where I've watched where he's disappeared throughout the game, or he's lost his shot, or just something that cements me to say you're an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
Maybe next year he'll get better at it, but for this year, no.
Yeah, well, as the NBA goes, it changes every week. Our opinions will change every week. Somebody will step up and have some great games that's on the fringe of being MVP. Some of these teams will step up. We've got a couple weeks left.
Yeah,
and it's fun doing this, and we're getting ready for the playoffs. And let's just keep enjoying it. The opinions are great. Did you want to finish? Did you have any particular thought before we finish the show today that you want to emphasize? Phoenix.
I've been on Phoenix, so it's not like
Phoenix is going to be win the championship in the West, right?
Yes, and they're actually going to be the #1 team in the West.
You heard that? Phoenix is going to win.
As long if LeBron doesn't come back early enough for them to go on any run,
you better be back soon. It's almost over.
Exactly. So then my pick is Phoenix.
Okay, I like it. Phoenix versus
Brooklyn.
Clippers versus Brooklyn. You heard it here. This is a great show. We love it. We could talk NBA all day. What are your opinions? We want to thank you for all the views. We want to thank you for liking our show, sharing it with your friends, watching us at WWDBTV, Roku TV, Apple TV, YouTube, wherever you watch us. We thank you. Comment. Tell your friends about it. NBA playoffs are coming. It's tough to bet on the NBA right now. I actually took a little break. It's ever changing, but thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your NBA games and all other sports that are going on. Please check out our show, Let's Talk Sports with Rick and Jack. We also have that show. It's very, very popular. We talk about the Kentucky Derby this week and the NFL draft. So check us out over there too. We've got a couple of great shows. Thank you for watching.
We gave you some winners in for the Derby, so watch our show.
We gave you Derby winners. Go over there and watch us. Derby winners. You're going to contact us and say thank you after Saturday. God bless. Thanks for tuning in. Keep watching us. Again, watch our Let's Talk Sports show also. It's a lot of fun. We love this NBA show, but we love sports, period. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in.
Till next time.
See you soon. God bless.